Hello there, I'm Nathalia Melo, your unfiltered fit BFF. Mom of two turned CEO of a fitness empire. Someone who truly understands the struggles of trying to stay fit, sane, and sexy, all while juggling work, life, and motherhood. And this is the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. Follow along wherever you're listening and join me weekly as I help busy working moms just like you simplify your fitness journey so you can lose fat, regain your confidence, and feel sexy AF. It's time to stop living in the what ifs and hiding from the cameras. It's time to regain control over your body, feel sexy naked, and wear a bikini confidently. People already see you as a super confident woman, but it's time for you to feel the same way too. Come on, let's go. Hello there, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast. I'm Nathalia Melo, your host, and today we're going to be talking about something that is very close to my heart, something that I talk often about, but that I feel is being misunderstood. And there is some kind of like mental gymnastics being practiced to kind of like make it fit, make it fit the agenda. And that is the whole idea of balance. Big fan of balance. I think that it is incredibly important to have balance in life. But I believe that people are misunderstanding that a little bit. And, I see this often in this, time of the year because it feels like things are a bit out of order. We're off routine because it's the tail end of the summer. And for us, like kids are still off school, but they're almost back to school. And in the beginning, beginning of the summer, maybe you had a little bit of structure. Now shit has hit the fan a little bit. And then you're saying yes to everything. And maybe you have kids that came home from college. And that, throws things a little bit off a routine. Or maybe you don't have kids and coworkers at work have been traveling. So that kind of disrupts a little bit of the routine in an office setting. And if you work remote, maybe you have to pick up more. So this is a season of the year that happens every year where things feel a bit like up in the air. Everybody's excited for structure to come back because things have been a bit out of structure. But the thing is that a lot of people don't understand what that structure and balance actually looks like, especially when you have been going with the flow for so many weeks now. And I have a interesting story that started to help me see the idea of balance with a different perspective. I remember whenever we first moved to Texas, if you're new here, I think it's podcast 2 or 3, one of the first ones that I talk about how my husband and I ended up here in Texas from Northern Ireland. And whenever we moved here, we knew like not many people. It was just my husband and I. We packed up and we came here. Our kids were very young, like 9 months and not even 2. So it was hard. And I was working from home with with 2 very young kids. And, I worked around the kids because I didn't want to miss anything with them. But I also didn't want to miss anything with work. So, everywhere that they went, I would walk around with my laptop and then I tried to do some work and then they want my attention. But then what ended up happening was that I ended up doing everything badly. And then I felt incredibly frustrated. And then I ended up resenting work because I felt like it was not letting me be present with the kids. And then I got annoyed and frustrated with the kids because they didn't let me finish work. So clearly, what I envisioned as like balance, it's balance to work from home and like spend time with the kids, it became incredibly unbalanced because I ended up doing everything badly and I was annoyed. And the way that this shows up with fitness is that people want change, but they are not willing to change. They want to keep on doing the same thing that they've always done and get a different outcome from what they've always got. So it's kind of like, I'm eating kale. No, I'm eating a sleeve of Oreos still. Hey, but I'm having, I have kale as well. Well, that's great that you have kale, but you're still having a sleeve of Oreos. So that's not balance. And this is a bit misaligned. And people are always saying, oh, I don't want to give up my life. I want to have a life. I want to, put myself out there and live my best life and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that if you're unhappy with your body, that is holding you back from showing up as yourself, if your energy is being impacted, if your health is being impacted, is not where you want to be because I just want to make sure that I'm living life. Something's already out of balance. I want to be balanced. I want to live my life. But if you feel like shit, something's already out of balance because balance isn't this idea, this delusion of comfort. Balance is alignment. And the crazy part is that whenever I hear someone say, oh, I want balance. I don't want to sacrifice my life for my fitness, for my health. But what they don't realize is that by not sacrificing a little bit of their time in their life towards their health, they are by default sacrificing their life because of the lack of health. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like, let's say that you have a car and then you're like, oh, I'm not going to stop to get my car checked and to get my tires checked and to make sure that I'm putting the right gasoline on my car because I'm always in a rush and I want to make sure that I'm driving as fast as possible and I'm going to all these places. At some point, that car is going to break and it's going to end up costing you a lot more to fix the car than you would be to prevent the car breaking down in the first place with the adequate maintenance. So this whole idea of not wanting to sacrifice life for, to dedicate a little bit of time to your health, to your body, to your emotional health, to your physical health, it's absolutely insane. Because you're thinking just short term. You're thinking the life right now, but what about the life that you still to live? If you want to be here to watch your grandkids grow up, you are going to have to start taking care of your health right now. And if you're already a grandmother, if you want to watch your kid, be a present person, like image in your grandchildren's lives, you know that you're going to have to take care of you. You're going to have to take care of your body. You're going to have to take care of your health. And I want to ask you, how many times have you told yourself that you wanted balance? And the problem with that is that we get judged whenever we start to change our behaviors a little bit and start to focus a little more on our health, on our fitness. There is like, oh, look at her. She's so obsessed. And then you start to feel like, oh, I need a bit more balance in my life. But the uncomfortable truth is that if you are, uncomfortable in your clothes, if you are shying away from photos, if you're not being intimate with your partner because you don't like how you look, you feel uncomfortable in your body. If you are not going to a park with your kids because you feel uncomfortable in shorts. If you, maybe you go to events with the people that you love, but you're always covering up. Is that really like living your life to its fullest? Is it really balance? Because if you are not where you want to be physically, which by default is going to put you there a lot of times emotionally as well, you are already out of balance. There is already an imbalance and you're just tolerating it. And the truth is that balance is not doing everything, kind of like how it was in the example, trying to do everything at the same time and saying yes to everything. It's about knowing what actually aligns with the life that you want. If you are not where you want to be physically and you are going out to eat to restaurants and you're ordering, fast food, or maybe it's not fast food, but you're going to different restaurants and you're letting the weekend completely derail you because you say yes to everything, because in your mind, balance is saying yes to all the things and attending all the parties and, eating all the food because, oh my goodness, if I'm eating different from everybody? Fuck that. If everybody else wants to, they're entitled to live the life that they want. But if those actions are not in alignment with your goals, you are already living out of balance. And, it's funny because in most people's minds, they are doing that to create an illusion of balance, like the peer pressure, because they're probably being told that they are, so obsessed and stuff. But that in itself is already an imbalance. So you end up, it's a lose-lose situation because you're not taking actions that are in alignment with your ultimate goal of being healthy, of taking care of your body. You're doing that for the illusion of balance, which by default is already an imbalance. And the reality is that balance isn't a 50-50 split between fun and discipline. It's a harmony that serves your priority. I like to look at it almost like as a pyramid. Okay. So, for most people, and I'm going to say, like, for example, most people that I speak to, even myself, there are a few things that are a priority to me. Okay. My kids and my husband, and then family and friends, my career, my work. I think that would probably like come second to my kids and husband. I'm incredibly passionate about what I do. Like it's almost like crazy, but I love what I do. And, people say, oh, you're obsessed. I am. Let it be. So my kids and my husband, my career, my health, family and friends, and wealth. Okay. So let's use this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we have to start to think about is that whenever we're talking about these priorities in life, there needs to be a harmony that is going to serve your priorities. So if you look at this almost as a pyramid, okay, there is going to be a foundation for that pyramid. And whenever we look at it, it's actually quite clear. Who here has ever heard that, money can buy health? I mean, it can help, financially with healthcare and stuff like that. But if your health is deteriorating, it's going to be very difficult for you to work and make money. It's going to be very difficult for you to focus on your career. If you have no health, how are you going to show up for your family and friends? How are you going to show up for the people that you love most, like your spouse and your kids and your grandchildren? So everything begins with health, taking care of your health, of your body. So if the harmony, if this, delusion of balance, like this delusional picture that most people have of what balance is, which we already established that it is not, if there is no harmony with the foundational priority of most people's life, like most people that I know who are sane would say that they want to have health. Like that's not me making maybe it's me making an assumption, but that is a very logical assumption to make that most people want to have health. So how is it that you're living in harmony? How is it that you're living in balance with what your priorities are? Family, friends, kids, career, wealth, all of that. If you're not taking care of the one thing that is the foundational priority of all, which is your health. Whenever we look at, I don't know, like let's say that somebody bets their home and then they lose everything. You don't look at it and be like, that person lived a balanced life. No, you're spending more than you earn. You're putting you're mortgaging your house for a whole bunch of bullshit. And that is what is happening whenever you're mortgaging, like in you're taking a second mortgage on your body for this chase, this idealistic version of what you think that balance is. When you're living completely out of harmony because your health is in the toilet, the way that you feel about yourself is in the toilet. That's not balance. And I understand that for many people is the idea of like, oh, but I don't want to give up my life. But you're already giving up life by not taking care of your body. Maybe you fear, losing joy, spontaneity, connection. But honestly, what is joyful? What is, let me say this first part. What is joyful about feeling uncomfortable in your body? How does feeling uncomfortable in your body impacts your connections, your connection with your spouse? Because that's something that I hear day in and day out. I don't feel good in my body. It is impacting my intimate life. My husband doesn't even know that I feel the way I feel, but I don't feel good. Therefore, it is impacting how I show up in my marriage. Isn't there a negative impact on the connection that you have with your spouse? If your friends invite you to go to a place and you go because you quote unquote think that that's your idea of balance, but you feel like shit and you get there and you're pulling the skirt and you're pulling the shirt and you're like on the corner and you're not being able to be yourself because of the discomfort in which you're living your body. How are you going to be able to connect with them? And listen, this isn't about physical appearance, because your spouse and your friends probably have no idea what the fuck you're like. They don't know. Like very few people know if you go from a size 8 to a size 12. We notice, but other people don't. So this has nothing to do with physical appearance. This has everything to do on how it weighs on us. Also, like how are you going to be able to be truly that spontaneous and active with the people that you love when you're constantly tired or anxious over your health? You're already sacrificing your life by not addressing this. And the ultimate freedom comes when you're no longer chained to, saying yes to everything, to people please, to feeling like in order to keep the connections with the people that you love, you need to be there 24/7. And that you need to say yes to everything. You need to drop all your needs to be there for everybody. And listen, I'm not saying that to not be a good friend. That's not what I'm saying. But boundaries are incredibly important in order to create alignment. Because every yes that you say to everything is a no that you're saying to something else. Every yes to staying up late, skipping your workouts, or overindulging, or, going to a restaurant because your friends decided, and then tomorrow there is another restaurant, the day after that there is another restaurant, the day after that there is another restaurant. It's a no to progress. And here's the plot twist, though. That's the crazy part. Not every no is deprivation. Sometimes, most times, a no is an investment in yourself. No to the extra drink. It's a yes to waking up feeling better, feeling great the next day. No to skipping a workout. It's a yes to the body and the health that you want. No to, just doing a whole lot of nothing and meeting with somebody who only comes to you when they need something on a Wednesday, when you know that you have an early workout the next morning. Saying a no to that is saying a yes to your consistency, because you know that if you don't go to bed at a certain time on Wednesday, it's going to impact you showing up to the workout the next day. People call discipline restriction, but what they don't realize is that their current habits and their current lifestyle is putting restrictions on them. And what restrictions are those, you say? The restriction to not wear whatever they want. The restriction to not have the peace of mind to not always be thinking about how uncomfortable they are in their bodies. The restriction to not be able to, ride a bike with your child or grandchild. The restriction to not be here to watch your grandkids graduate high school because you refuse to take care of your health. Is discipline really a restriction? And the truth that nobody wants to hear is that you will have to sacrifice something. You cannot expect to keep on doing the things that you did before that got you to that place of imbalance that you are and get a different outcome. It is delusion to expect that. You're going to need to sacrifice the idea of instant gratification. Because here are the two choices that you have. You can sacrifice instant gratification, or you can sacrifice long-term health, confidence, freedom to do whatever you want, to wear whatever you want, to truly live your best life. And the hard part in all of this is that so many times women having been living this, suboptimal life for such a long time, that it has become their norm. And then it almost like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how it is to feel different than that. And it's interesting because we have a member, this is a conversation that literally just happened at the time of this recording here. We have a member in the Powerhouse Academy, and whenever I was talking with her, she was like, oh yeah, no, nothing, not much has changed, and Here's what she said. She's been with us for what, 5, 6 weeks, 5, 6 weeks. She says, I've always been very outgoing and bubbly, but after having kids, I went into this shell and I couldn't even tell you when or why it happened. Just that I'm now realizing it, and it feels amazing to be getting back to myself. And this is what I mean. And the reason I say this is because, like, for this particular member, she felt that balance was to be there for her kids all the time, and to not put some time aside to exercise, and to not put some time aside to take care of her food, to not put some time aside to go on a date night with her husband. And in the process of this delusional vision of balance, she became more imbalanced and misaligned, because then she gave up on, like, she gave herself, she lost herself in this process. And the question is not, do I want to sacrifice? The question is, what am I willing to sacrifice? And maybe what you are willing to sacrifice is your health. And that is not for me to judge. The point of this conversation today is that we stop living on this delusion, in this chase for a balance that is not what most people think it is. In order to create change, in order to make progress, there is gonna have to be a level of sacrifice, of compromise. If you want a different life, your current version of balance is gonna have to evolve. Your current version of, I don't want to sacrifice life for my fitness, for my health. You're going to have to change that idea, because the moment that you sacrifice that time to take care of you, you are by default sacrificing your life. And listen, I'm not saying that you're going to have to become a monk or a robot. That's not what I'm saying. But the truth is that, comfort's not the same as balance. If you're unhappy with your body, energy, mindset, you're living in comfortable misalignment. And it's comfortable because it's familiar. It's like the whole idea of misery loves company. You're familiar with that level of misery. You're familiar with just wearing leggings and oversized t-shirts because you know that that's how it fits. But don't call that balance, because it's not. It's a comfortable misalignment. And staying in that place is what is keeping you stuck. Not wanting to create change, not wanting to be honest with yourself, because that is where the change begins. The change begins with looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, are my choices aligned with my priorities? And not just the priorities now, the priorities long term. We need to stop with the instant gratification. Staying in that place is what is keeping you stuck, because true balance feels different. It feels different. It feels light. It feels intentional. There is nothing more, and I hate the word empowering with an absolute passion, but I'm going to have to say, there is nothing more empowering than saying no to something that that doesn't serve you, but you had been saying yes because you thought that that was balance. And that no can be to, toxic friends who, only invite you to get shit-faced. And whenever you start making progress, they start to make comments saying that you're obsessed. Maybe that's the balance that you need, because that area of life you have outgrown and no longer fits where you are. In setting boundaries with people or things like that is incredibly empowering. To honor the promise that you have made for yourself. I am going to wake up at this time tomorrow and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I am going to meal prep. It feels amazing. But I think that for a lot of people have had such a hard time honoring the promises that they've made to themselves consistently, that they don't even know how good it feels anymore. So they keep on hiding on the idea of balance, which ultimately it is just a comfortable misalignment. And, kind of like going back to what I said before, I'm not saying that you need to become a hermit and become a homebody and not go anywhere and, not do anything. And you're like Buddhist monk on the top of the mountain that's not what I'm saying. It's about gaining clarity on what yeses align with your priorities and understanding that every yes that you say is going to be a no to something else. And you're going to have to recalibrate and ask yourself, what are my non-negotiables? And your non-negotiables are going to be different than my non-negotiables. For example, I'm not going to a birthday party at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. I am not coming. That is a boundary that I'm not saying that it's going to have be the same for you. I'm very unlikely to go anywhere, really, on a school night, like unless it is something absolutely extraordinary, like we're going to the Oasis concert and it's in the middle of, it's something that is very important to me. So I'm willing to say yes to something like that it is going to be in a weekday, with the understanding that it might mean a no to something else. And that is what I'm talking about. It's like understanding. And here are some key shifts that we're going to have to practice. We're going to have to practice boundaries with people pleasing, with saying yes to everything, with, feeling the need to be everywhere all the time. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like everybody has FOMO. Like, we don't need to be in all places all the time. You do not have to say yes to every single birthday party that you get invited to. You need to be intentional with your indulgences. I'm not saying, like, you want to have cake, great, but you cannot have, cake and ice cream and 75 pina coladas. And also during the week when you're supposed to be consistent, you're also, stopping at Chick-fil-A 3 times a week. I have ice cream. A lot of our members also have, their moments of indulgence. If they're traveling, we're like, enjoy, have a good time. But it's about the intentionality behind it. And you're going to have to prioritize the unsexy basics: movement, food prep, sleep, hydration. Physical changes and taking care of your health is a lot simpler than the internet makes you believe. But there's so much noise and so much bullshit and so much conversation about, it's your cortisol. Oh my God, because your cortisol. And shut the fuck up. Are there people that have problem with their cortisol and with their hormones and all? Yes, I'm going to do a whole podcast about that. Okay. But if you're inconsistent with your nutrition, if you're not training, if you're not drinking your water, if you sleep like shit, if you're doom scrolling every night, maybe it is your cortisol, but your cortisol has become a consequence of your poor choices. So we're going to have to prioritize the unsexy basics before we get all in the conversation about balance and, oh my goodness, I'm missing out. One thing that we need to understand is that if you're saying no to the restaurant on the weekend because you feel that it's going to completely mess up your nutrition, is because you probably haven't been consistent for the other 6 days of the week. That is what it comes down to. I can't go on that trip because it's completely going to it's going to derail me. One trip is not going to derail you. But if you have been going at like 30% leading up to a trip, and then on the trip you fall off, like you go at 100% off the wagon, the problem wasn't necessarily the trip. The problem is the trip and the less than optimal, compliance that has been happening before the trip. It's kind of like whenever somebody looks at me and they see me getting out of yoga, for example. In the West, they're like, oh my God, you do yoga? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, ooh, then I need to do yoga so my legs look like this. I'm like, no, like we're missing the point here. It's not just the yoga. It's not just the cardio machine that I use. Like, I use this cardio machine and somebody came back to me. They're like, oh my God, you do this machine like often. And I'm like, yeah, I like it. And they're like, ooh, that's why X, Y, and Z look the way it does. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So we need to stop looking at things in a vacuum. Like it is that one meal, or it is that one, that one event that I didn't go that, threw me out of balance. No, what is not giving results is is constantly operating at suboptimal on this search for balance. And then there is that one event that then gets blamed for months, weeks, years of half-ass effort. And whenever you set boundaries, whenever you become more intentional, whenever you prioritize the simplicity that it can be to get to your goals, you're not giving up on life, you're reclaiming it. You do not need to sacrifice life for health. You need to build a life where health is the foundation, because then and only then you can live fully. You can be present for your kids. You can be present for the people that you love. You can be present for your friends. And I want to challenge you. I'd love for you to do an audit week. Are your daily actions aligned with the life and body that you say that you want? Or are you just saying it, but not doing it? And then if you're just saying it, but not doing it, but you really want to have that alignment, I would love for you to look at the things that you're saying yes to and asking yourself, how many of those yeses are truly aligned with your ultimate goal? Like, doing this exercise is going to absolutely shock you. Like, no joke, absolutely shock you. Because I want everybody to live for as long as humanly possible. I want everybody to have the most amazing quality of life, the best marriage, the best relationship with your kids. But you're only going to be able to have the best life if you have the best health, physical, emotional. Because whenever you feel good, you show up for others much better. And that's what this is all about. So let's reframe the whole idea of balance and talk about alignment. Alignment with our choices, alignment with our priorities, alignment with our actions. I would love for you to do the exercise that I told you about, where you're going to be doing a little bit of an audit on your calendar, on your actions, on the things that you're saying yes to. And if you have any questions, send me a message on Instagram with the word balance. If you're ready to build a version of balance that doesn't keep you stuck, send me a message with the word balance if you want to learn how you can have a plan that fits your life, that allows you to be in alignment. Obviously, there are always going to be some give and take, some sacrifice that you're going to have to make. But what if those sacrifices are actually in alignment with what the ultimate goal and your priorities are? That's what life is all about. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. But let me ask you, what was your aha moment in today's episode? I would love to know. You can leave me a comment at the link in the show description. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram. Links are down below as well. And let me know what topics you want to hear more about or who I should have on the show. This is it for today, guys. I'll see you back next week for another episode of the Unfiltered Fit Life podcast.